Guys, my name is George and I'm creating this video because I'm hoping that this would help some people who are in the same shoes as I was or as I am. Basically, I've been looking for a way to create audiobooks, good high quality audiobooks for about since 2002. I pretty much tried every possible text-to-speech engine. I spent money on them. I experimented with a lot of them, and unfortunately, I could not really find anything until the advent of neural network voices. So just a couple of years ago, like Azure and Google Cloud started releasing their voices, their text-to-speech voices, when the quality started to reach a level where I would say, okay, so that's good enough. And I started using their services and creating my audiobooks. The issue was that obviously it cost money, and the quality, even though it was much better than the old school text-to-speech engines, but it was still not up to that level where I wish it was. So a couple of years ago, when actually not even a couple of years ago, what maybe like a year and a half ago, when these AI models started becoming popular, I actually realized that there are some AI driven text to speech models, and I started experimenting with pretty much every possible repository on GitHub or any other project, even if it costs money. I really didn't care, as long as I can have it on my computer, run it locally, and I don't need any type of service to pay for. I just wanted to buy it once, or an annual fee, a fixed annual fee, instead of like I'm paying after each word. So I finally found Tortoise text to speech, and I found like, wow, this is finally at the level where I would say like, okay, this is exactly what I've been dreaming of since 2002. And just to give you some perspective, I tried Bark, which is also an AI model, and it has its advantages and disadvantages, but it's not up to a level where Tortoise is. I tried XTTS, which is probably the best quality CoQ text-to-speech engine, and a lot of others, including Elevenlabs too. But obviously, Elevenlabs is not running on your local computer. So I would say Elevenlabs is probably the best, the most stable, but you have to pay for it. So if you want to have like a local copy of Elevenlabs, then you need Tortoise. But Tortoise has some issues, and the issues were multiple issues. For example, it has its art. When you synthesize text, it has artifacts in it. It repeats words. Many times it just makes these weird noises. It changes voice because it's a multi-vocal model. So basically, it's supposed to change voice based on which speaker is speaking, but there is no way to control which speaker is speaking. It's just the model itself will determine that. So I spend a lot of time trying to clone my voice. I mean, not my voice, but clone voices to have like a fine-tuned model. I spent weeks after weeks and months to experiment with all kinds of different way of how to make it more perfect. And unfortunately, I had to realize that Tortoise itself has to be better. So anyway, I forked the Tortoise fast repo, which is based on the Tortoise repo, because Tortoise was way too slow, even though it was a good model. So somebody created Tortoise Fast, which was much faster and better. And I bought expensive NVIDIA graphics cards. I have a RTX 3090 and a RTX 4090. And then I started enjoying finally making audiobooks. So what I'm going to show you right now is how to install the audiobook maker that I made from the Tortoise Fast library. It has its issues, I'm sure, and since I'm not like a professional programmer, if you actually look at the code that I modified and how I modified it, you're probably gonna be frowning that, oh, this is not the the proper way to do it. Honestly, I don't care. It works, and I'm finally listening to audiobooks that I've been meaning to do since 2002. So let's get into it. I'm going to just briefly look at so this is the repository, and if you go down, there are these installation steps. Now, I've only tested this on Linux, Ubuntu Linux 22.04. I actually wiped out the hard drive several times and reinstalled it because I realized that the first time I uploaded the instructions to GitHub, it wasn't working for everybody, including myself. So I revamped the installation steps, and I tested multiple times by completely reinstalling Ubuntu and doing the installation steps from the very beginning. So it should work. So let's get into it. Just as you can see, first you're gonna have to install Ubuntu, obviously, and then you update it with apt update, app upgrade, and you install the latest proprietary driver. If you wonder how to do that, you just simply go to additional drivers, and right here, the latest one is installed. And then you're gonna install Ubuntu packages. I'm not gonna do this live because I already did that, but just so you know, you're gonna need all these things. Just run it with sudo. And then you have to install the Conda environment, and Conda is a virtual environment in which you can run Python, so you don't install the Python libraries and Python itself on the main computer. You can have multiple environments simultaneously. So you just simply go to this link. Actually, let's do it together. And then you have to search for Linux installer, and let me see, download the installer right here. After you downloaded the installer, you just have to make it executable with the chmod +x and the file name, and then you run it. Make sure that you run it without sudo. You run it and install it as the current user. All right, so that's this step, and then you restart the computer. I'm sure you can do it without restarting the computer too, but I just do that so next time I go into the terminal and I type in Conda, it already knows where the path is. And then you're gonna clone my repository. Now let's do this step. So I just simply copy this line. Oops. All right. I usually like to put programs in the home folder, programs, and then I'm gonna create one just for the sake of this test. I go inside. All right, and I insert this. Let's clone it. The reason why you need to start with the cloning, because I created a requirements file and also a Conda environment file that you need to import. That will make it very easy to set up the system instead of manually installing packages. So once you do that, you have to go into the folder that was just created. If you ls that folder, you can see this is what you should see. And the requirements file is this. I only tested this on 3090 on this computer with these installation steps. I will later test it on 4090 and I will make some notes if anything is different, but it should be the same. These other requirements file are not the one that you should be using, so this one right here. And let's get into it. So just to see, if I run Conda, you can see that Conda is installed. Let's go back. What is next? Install. Okay, restart computer, clone repo, cd into the folder. So yeah, you have to be inside that folder where you see the requirement file, and basically you have to create the Conda environment, but you don't do it the usual way, like Conda-n create -n, and then you enter the name. No, you just simply import everything from this environment file. So if you want to see what's inside there, you can see this is what's inside there. All right, so let's run the command. And sorry, I guess I need to update this to that. All right, let's run it. Oops. The file is not fun. I guess I should. Oh, I know what the problem is. Yeah, because it starts with RTX. Come on. What's happening? Oh, no. I understand. The environment file should be there, but it's not there. Let me just pause the video. Let me find it. Okay, yeah, I don't know what happened. I just inserted it one more time and now it's good. So conda environment create whatever. It's gonna install everything. I will pause it and then come back when the installation is done. All right, so it's about to finish. Okay, let's activate the environment. Conda activate Tortoise Audio Book. By the way, you can change this name in the environment file. Okay, as you can see right here, the base changed to this name, which means the Conda environment is up and running. So let's go back. We finished this one. Next one is activate. We already did that. We go to install all the packages from this file. All right. And the same way as I did with the previous installation, I'm gonna pause it and come back once it's done. All right, so everything is finished. Let's go back to the installation instructions. So we just did this step. The next step is to install the Tortoise from this folder. So make sure that you're in the folder where you see these files, and then just simply run these commands. All right, this should be quick. All right, everything is good. And just so I can show you, you can see a list of all these versions, just in case you need it for your reference. All right, we go back here. Next one, we just did this. So next one, you have to download the, let me go to this link. So I uploaded my model files, not because they are so special, but I've changed so many things so many times. I don't even know if which model file this is. What you really care about is the auto-regressive model. Make sure that this is the one that you load in, because if you load in something else, the quality will not be nearly as good. So download the models from here, and that's why in the beginning, just to point out, that's why you installed git lfs, which is able to download large files from Hugging Face. And then you're gonna put all these models into the cache. So right here, let me show you. So once you go over all these steps, you're gonna place everything into the home folder, .cache, Tortoise, and models. Just copy all the files there, and then you basically run Tortoise. And that's what we're gonna do right now. All right. Let's wait until it loads. Now, there is a settings file that you can create by saving all the configurations with this button right here. In the beginning, it's just gonna, it says no settings file found, obviously because this is a brand new initialization of the repo, but you can save all the settings that you want. I highly recommend that you change the voice from random to something else. In this case, I'm gonna change it to add. And by the way, I'm not gonna include some of the voices, and I will explain later why, but just for the test. So we have add, I select the auto-regressive model, that's good. And by the way, just one more information. So under the models, if I go back here, no, I cannot do it from here. Let me open a new Actually, no, I'm gonna do it from here. So let's go programs, test right here. Yes, models, fine-tuned. All right, so you're gonna put all your cloned or fine-tuned models here if you want to. The auto-regressive model, which is the base model, is loading from the .cache Tortoise models where you copied the files before. If you want to put your own models, then you put it in this folder, and then you're gonna see it in the same list. So you're gonna see more models right here. You just have to probably stop and start the program to repopulate this. Now, one of the special thing about my version, you can load in a file, right? So you can select your file and load it in a text file, and then you can have self-correction rounds. So two things that, actually three things that the program is looking at, and probably I will open the settings to explain. There is an acceptable word difference. So I'm using Whisper to identify the generated text. So I generate a speech from the text, and then from the speech file or from the audio file, I run Whisper on it to convert it back to text, and then I compare it with the original text. I know it's not the perfect solution, but it's better than nothing. And then it will detect any word differences and character differences, which you can tweak here. These settings work well for me, 0 and 3, but you can change it however you want. And there is also one more thing that is checking pitch changes. So many times what I noticed, it's going to generate, especially when you transcribe a longer text, somewhere in the middle of the text, or many times it will go real high pitch. So like, for example, my voice will be like going like this, and then for a couple of seconds your voice will be like that. I don't understand why. So this will look at the pitch and compare it to a file that you give. So what I would suggest, for now you can leave it on no file .wav because that doesn't exist, or you can just make it empty. It doesn't matter. You do one generation. So let's just make a short one. That's good enough. Let's wait until it's done. And if the generated voice is good, this is exactly what you want. Just as I said, do it with a short sentence. Then we're gonna use that as a reference file for the pitch comparison. So yeah, this one is good.
Insert your text here for your audiobook, or use the file selector option above this field. Many thanks to the original creators of Tortoise Text-to-Speech and the creators of Tortoise Fast Repository.
All right, so that sounds pretty good to me. So what I'm gonna do, I will go back here, go into the results folder, and you can run the generation as many times as you want. It's not like the original model that you will lose it. So it will keep all the generated things under results and then the model name combined and the timestamp. Okay, so you can use this. You just convert it back to a WAV file, and let's do that. Actually, I don't know if I can just pull it over here, or I have to open it. All right, let's do this. Okay, export WAV, and I go to programs, test. You can put it wherever you want to put. Actually, no, not wherever, sorry. Outside over here in the main folder, you just say add. So the add was the model name too, right? So I'm gonna save it as add, so I know that this is the reference file for the add model. I'm just gonna save it. But only if the pitch is 100% good. If it's not good, you generate another sentence until you find the sentence that's perfect, that has no issues. All right. And now what you're gonna do is this, enter add.wav. All right. And now what it's gonna do is gonna take this file as the reference, and it starts generating sentences. If it finds any problem with with the sentence that it was generated. If any pitch issues, then it will try it again, and it will try it again as many times as you define here. So self-correction rounds 3, or you can increase it, it's up to you. Sometimes when you generate a whole audiobook, it will take probably like 8 hours to generate a longer book with this video card. You probably don't want to raise it up too high, because if it keeps trying, it will be not 8 hours, but maybe like 10 hours or 16 hours. But if you don't mind waiting, then it's up to you. And there's a pitch threshold. This is a hertz value. I honestly have no idea what this means, but you can just experiment with it, like you go higher and lower. And what I did, because this should be done for each model separately. So this 30 is perfect for ad, for this voice, this model. What I did, I intentionally found some incorrectly generated voices with ad and correctly generated ones. And I was trying to see which value would provide the perfect result. So this is just a trial and error. For the ad voice, this works perfectly fine for me. So basically, when you do these self-correct rounds, it's going to look at all of these 4 things that I just explained. And if it fails any one of these things, then it will try one more round until it reaches the maximum rounds, and it will skip. Let me show you one thing. When you click start, you go to the terminal, and then I made it super easy to see what's happening. So you can see which chunk is currently generating, right? You can see if there is any self-correction happening. So pitch difference, yes, it found the pitch difference, and self-correct 1 out of 3. So it will try to generate it again, and let's see if it passes or not. Oops, there's still a pitch difference. It will try to self-correct it one more time. And there is still a pitch difference. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So basically it failed. It could not make the difference. It might be that the value, the 30 value, is wrong. So you have to experiment with it a little bit if you want to pay attention, but you don't actually have to use the pitch setting. So I mean this file, you can just make it empty, and then it's not using the pitch correction, it's only using the word correction. So it's really up to you. You can just play around with it. And then let's see what else we have here. I would not change anything here. Let me see if there's anything. Step seed. Oh yeah, voice fixer. So yeah, if you check the voice fixer, it will make it a better quality voice, but it's not, for me, it's not working, in a sense that it's not gonna be natural. If I compare the 2 voices in a longer, like a book style, when I use the voice fixer, I feel like something is off. It's not giving me back the original feeling without the voice fixer. You can change where you keep your model files, save the settings. Let's just save it. All right. And I'm always using these settings. I don't think you should change them, but it's up to you. I think you should just tweak this one maybe if you want to. The length, the text splitting length is basically, I made my own text splitting function. So basically, when I read in the text, and my function is deciding which one is one chunk. And you can have 3 different settings. It will take a longer version or medium or short. I always leave it long. It should be fine, but you can play around with it. Now, these 2 are pretty cool. These are my favorite settings because this makes the audiobook a lot more real. So it's very important to format the text before you run it through. Because what will happen if you have a text, let's just open something. All right, so let's say you have some title, and then you have a bunch of things over here. Basically, what this setting does, it will keep a short pause. This is a millisecond, so it's half a second, right? And this is 3 seconds. It will keep a short pause for 1 line break. Oops. Yeah, so right here, this will cause a short pause. If you want to make a long pause, then you have to have at least 2 or more. You can have more and it will be just the same as 2. So when you format your text, and for example, you have chapter 1, right? After chapter 1, you probably want to enter 2 spaces, right? That will keep a long pause. Between paragraphs, you want to keep one short pause, and then you can set up your preference how many milliseconds it should be. By adding these pauses, the whole feeling of an audiobook is very different, and finally it's becoming enjoyable. One thing to pay attention to, don't make the text super short. So for example, if you just say 1, right? This most of the time, or any short, like 1 word inference, it will cause jumbled up speech, or it can cause these undesirable effects. So for example, if you just have 1 in the book and then 2, then just add something to it, like chapter 1, chapter 2, or make it a little bit longer, so when after inference, it will sound much better. Let me see, what else do we need to talk about? Oh yeah, at the end, there is a little report or summary, like how many failed self-correcting rounds we had, how many times we counted. These numbers are not entirely accurate because I have some logic issues in the program, but it gives you a good idea of what was happening. All right, another thing. Let me just pause the video and find the other website that I want to show you. Okay, so one very important thing that will help you to make good quality speech. You're gonna have to create, at least this is my experience, you're gonna have to create voice latent files. And I don't know how to do it with Tortoise. So basically I'm using this repo on GitHub. This guy, Jared, he's a very nice guy. He has lots of good videos about voice generation, text-to-speech, and other stuff. You should check out his videos. But basically, I'm using this repo, and let me just run it for you. Give me a second. All right, let me pause it and then I'll continue when it loaded. All right, it loaded. So this is a pretty cool project where you can clone your voice or train a model with your own data set. You can also run the whisper models to transcribe it. It's a pretty good model, although I think my transcribing repository is better. I made my own because I was having issues with this one. I feel like it's cutting off the end of the sounds in a not a perfect way. So let me just show you here. Prepare voice cloning data set. This is something that I made. I think it's better, but doesn't matter. So let's go back over here. All right, all you have to do over here is just one very simple thing. You have to place hours of voice or hours of audio data into the main folder, voices, and let's say AdWord, right? So this is a short one, but you should place, let's say, 7 hours worth of video. Depends on how much RAM you have, like a video card RAM. Because the larger file you place, the more RAM you need. I'm able to create a voice latent file with about 5 to 6 I believe 5 to 6 hours of video. The longer the better, because what it will do, once you place a WAV file over there, you enter a short text, just like a sentence, it doesn't need long. And then you hit generate. And and you of course have to select the correct voice. And what else do you need to select? Nothing else. Yeah, everything else is good. And then you click on generate. It will load for a long time. I'm talking about like many minutes, until it's trying to parse that 6 or 5 hours worth of audio data into a voice latent file, which pretty much captures the characteristics of the voice. It's not gonna save the voice. So let's say if 8 hours or 7 hours of audio is a couple of gigabyte, it will make it like 500 megabyte or 600 megabyte. And then it will place the voice latent file in the same folder. So you're gonna see a PTH file. Once the generation is successful and over, you're gonna see a PTH file here. Now you take that PTH file and then you go back to your Tortoise and you put it here. Tortoise voices, add, right here. Okay, this one is only 5.7 because this computer, it doesn't have that voice, but you just put the PTH file here and then you start using Tortoise, and then the quality will be it will be much more interesting to listen to, because it's emphasizing words differently. The tone is different, and what I noticed, you just have to have a good voice, the proper voice. And I don't know what a proper voice is. I've tried a lot of different voice. Manly deep voices, many times they don't work. You just have to experiment. I don't really like to use audiobooks as a sample, because when somebody is reading audiobook, they don't speak the same way like for an interviewer would be speaking, right? The interviewer is speaking a lot more naturally. Nothing is planned. Everything is just coming out in an improvised fashion. So if you find hours worth of speaking or speech data, which is more like a conversational style, your audiobook will be a lot more enjoyable. I don't know what else to show you. I think everything else that I wanted to show you is here. Yeah, I think that's all. I hope you guys are gonna have fun and create lots of audiobooks and get smarter. All right, cheers.